Lovely touch from him though. Harry Kane, Lucas Moura, can you do something, please? Last chance, Matt Doherty!
Oh, you shite! There could be from the dead to the
Don't fuck it up now, don't fuck it up! Go and win it!
Let's go
Last
for
chance! Stephen Berghvall! Stephen Berghvall's through! Win it, Stephen! Come on!
Yes! He's won it! He has won it! Oh my God! Oh my God! We did it!
Yo, check that out, people. How you doing? Welcome back. I'm lively, I'm noisy, and I am raucous this evening because we've got together a little streamy weemy for you. And look who I brought in. I've got Johnny H3232. Looks like he spent a week in Mallorca, and he's already complaining about the sun coming down. He lives in a chateau somewhere in, I don't know, near Bodo Glimt or something where the sun doesn't set, according to his eye line. There's always sun in his eyes, and we love to see it. Johnny, good to see you. Come to you in a second. We also got Ian Lubo, and he's coming in as well. We got two big topics for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We got Daniel Levy. Can he survive another failure from the YouTube perspective? I think there's a massive line in the sand that separates the Johnny Come Latelys and the people that go to the match versus those that, inhabitate this here parts of the world in the digital sphere. And can he survive it? Because I think there's so much on the line over the next 72 hours, but ultimately, ideally, over the next 3 weeks. Failure, well, it means certain things. And I wonder what it means in the eyes of these two here folk, what it means for Daniel Levy. I think I can guess where one person's going to go. The other one we're going to find out about. We're going to find out both of them. Guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe. This is your third piece of content of the day. I told you I owed you a lot of content because I've been a little bit absent over the last year, but it's coming to summer. And with summer and with the re-arrival, potentially, probably, in all likelihood, of the Don, which is the second part of the show, or the first part of the show. I think we're going to start with the first part first, which is the Don Paratici's coming back. And with it, this here guy has been basically skipping a roo doing the hopscotch wherever he's gone for the last 72 hours. Everything he's done has been hopscotching like a 12-year-old schoolgirl who is delighted by the news that probably, potentially, we've got the man who's back. Guess who's back? The Don is back. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. We've got to talk about transfer news, views and clues of the day. Madison going to City, potentially. What does that look like? We've got Pedro Porro potentially going to City. What does that look like? We've also got, of course, from Rombom news, Atletico Madrid trying to make things happen. Do we really still want Conor Gallagher? Well, all that's on the case as well. Riquelme from Atletico Madrid. What about Jan Bisek from Inter Milan? An absolute Pape player. We've got to talk about that as well. Guys, I'm going to shut up for a second and hand it over to my partner in crime over here and say, Johnny, how are you, buddy?
I'm all right. Listen, I've got to tell you, I know they sung the song yesterday at the stadium, but 100%. They sold their soul for that shithole. What a crappy stadium. I tell you what, every single seat should come with a pair of binoculars. I couldn't see anything. They looked like a couple of dots on one of those, 1980 overhead football games that you used to see, where the little dots were running around. It was hard to see. Listen, the best part yesterday were two things. Us taking how shit must you be? We're winning away. How shit must you be? We're winning away. Spurs fans singing to the West Ham and seeing Mickey Moore come on belatedly. And let's be honest, doing more in that sort of short cameo than most of the other players managed to do in the 90 minutes that they were on the pitch. So, going there is an experience. I think Lubo and I are part of the Tottenham Hotspur self-harm group. We've been suffering from spurscitis for a long time. It's an incurable disease. And there's a lot of people out there, if you speak to them now, suffering from this little known disease. But it seems to be, as the season's progressed, more and more people are owning up to having it. So, but hey ho, it's all about Thursday, Sean. But the happiness that I feel today, because I have banged on about Fabio Paratici now for nigh on 3 years. I've even when they sacked him and they called him Con Fabio, for me, he was always the Don. Myself and Big Dave have always been massive Fabio fans. And if it's true, linked up with Cherrington and...
Let me tell you something. I am not someone who has...
Oh, I know it's true. But I
don't have any ITK knowledge, but if people that watch this, familiar faces on the channel, familiar names in the channel, most of you will remember that I put my balls on the table. I went all in with my testicles on red or black when it came to Dragusin, when it came to Pedro Porro, when it came to... forget. It's been like 8 or 9 times in the past where I've gone all in, and I've only got it. I think Nick Collison's who's there. There he is. There's Nick Collison. He'll remind you. Maybe there's one where I've gone, it's done, and it wasn't done.
Listen,
but I'm
look,
say right now, Fabio Paratici is done. He is back. Bet your house on it, Lubo.
Sean,
quickly, how are you, my man?
As you know, Sean. Just to say to you, Sean, as you remember, right? That I was telling you behind the scenes where he'd been seen. A few times now. So, but look, the thing is, it's a hat trick. Vinny, Cherrington, and Fabio, the 3 of them next season are going to change shit down at Spurs. I've got no doubt about it whatsoever. The only thing is as your video you did earlier, which you should all go and watch, about a sliding doors moment. It is a massive sliding doors moment. How it will look come May the 21st is all up in the air at the moment. We could be in Champions League and, having inward investment, 30 non-football events and have money coming out of our ears. Or we could be sat here in May looking for investment to even get us to spend some money. So let's see what happens. Let's leave.
Yeah, let's see what happens. By the way, there's a massive difference between Johnny when Johnny knows things in the background because he knows people that knows things. I don't know anything about anything. I just put my balls on the line occasionally, and most of the time, as much as you deny it, Nick, as much as you deny it, Collison, I see you there. When I put my balls on the table and say things are done, they end up being done. When everyone was panicking about Pedro Porro, when everyone was panicking about Radu Dragusin, it was done. Ian, how are you, mate? Good to see you back on the channel, mate. Good to see you in reception, in Wi-Fi, because we tried this earlier last week and it was difficult.
Good evening. I'm all good, alive and above ground, so no complaints.
Good, mate. Good. How are you feeling about the Paratici news in principle, buddy? Are you as excited as Johnny is?
I think so. I think it's great news for Spurs. I think it's great news for it. Can I firstly say that as far as yesterday was concerned, the best part of the day was the breakfast in Debden in Cafe Licious.
Forgot about that. Sorry.
That was, wasn't it, Johnny? That was the best part of Sunday, wasn't it?
Number 3 breakfast. I went for number 3.
Me too. It was excellent.
Number 5.
Very good. Plenty of toast. Excellent breakfast.
Are we plugging a sponsor here that I'm not aware of?
No.
Fair enough. Well, breakfast in Debden. Congratulations to them.
There you
go. Boys, just bear with me 1 second. Just want to say a massive hello to a couple of people, and there's a couple of super chats as well. I've got just before we get into the nitty gritty. Good to see you, Adrian. Good to see you, Effin Hell, GCTV, Totspur63. Thank you for all the loyalty and for the moderations that you guys do. Jessica as well. Good to see you, and also Tottenham Hotspur. Haven't seen you before, I don't think, but good to see you, man. Good name, like that. Totspur, we got Blaine in the house. Good to see you, Blaine. Look at that member for 20 months. What loyalty? What loyalty? What a man! What a man! What a
medal, Sean. Did he get a medal for 20 months? Surely.
I think after 20 months, I think after 24 months, Blaine, if you can hang around until like late summer, I think you get elevated to a different coloured badge. Not decided by me, but if I could give you any colour badge, mate, it would be Irish and gold because you're Ireland and you are a gold Gold star for me, mate. What a way to celebrate my 36th birthday. Wowzers,
Well
man.
done.
Even better. Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations. It's all downhill from there. With a bit of Shawnee in the Spurs community. Big up, everyone. Big up to you, man. Congratulations. Happy birthday, buddy. By the way, Blaine, I think I said to you before, I told you, you sent me some pictures with a certain ex-player, superstar, that was that signed it. And I said to you, I feel so bad. I've got that. You sent me that White Hart Lane thing. It's up here. I found it. I found it at the back. I said my mum had thrown it out. She hadn't. Or the cleaner had thrown it out. They hadn't. I accused them. I've got it up. So I'm still going to honour you what you said to me, which was to give it away in a giveaway, which I think I will do sometime over this week. I'll do it this week. But thank you very much, Blaine. I really appreciate you, mate. Just have a look. The music is very loud for us older types. Sorry, Ferg. Good to see you, mate. Tom's in the house. Ferg's in the house. Nick Barry lying about the amount of times I get it wrong. Good to see you all. Good to see you, Dobby's dad. Good to see you, Paul Brown. Super chat from Blaine. You're absolute legend, mate. Sean, have a whale blubber sandwich and a few beers or whatever they can shoot.
We're going whaling.
I'm going whaling, just a different type of whaling. I like my girls blump. Safe travels this week. Bring us back a cup final slot. P.S. No Eskimo dolly birds. No, listen, mate. Thank you so much. Thank you, Blaine. You're a very generous man, mate, and you're a massive part of the community, buddy. Looking forward to getting you back on the channel as well. But you, mate, make sure you have a few beers tonight as well for your birthday, bud. And
Happy birthday, Blaine.
Birthday, buddy. Love you, man. Guys, smash the like, smash the subscribe, hit the notification bell and all that stuff. We've also got Tom Martin saying, like and sub for the best content. It's okay. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate your loyalty as well, my man. Make sure you do as Tom has asked, guys. I really appreciate your loyalty. Who else we got? We got Totspurs. Oh, remember, for 22 months. Even more loyalty. Big up Shawnee and Johnny Lubo and all. Bring us some good news, Sean. Well, the news is that we got some two sort of different perspectives here. I can't do it. Whatever. Yeah, one here and one over there. On all things Tottenham. And we're going to start with Fabio Paratici, Johnny. I'm going to come to you first, mate. Look, come of the hour, come of the dawn, come of the Shawnee's a happy boy because transfer links are rife. They are everywhere. It was a terrible January window. There was nothing to write home about because the journalists live and breathe on the breadcrumbs, and Johan Lang doesn't feed the birds, mate. Doesn't feed the birds. Don Paratici does, and we've got some absolute whoppers flopping around right now. Madison off to Man City, Porro to Man City, Romero to Atletico Madrid, Conor Gallagher coming back in. I'm going to talk about the incomings in a minute in the second half of the show, but I mean, it's not just about us as having things to talk about. Johnny, talk to me about why you think that Don Paratici is going to be a massive part of Tottenham's next 24 months.
I think you can see, even now, when you look at the crux of our team, it's still very much influenced by Fabio. You know, Destiny, Cuti Romero, Vicario, Pedro Porro. You can list them. You know the players. I don't need to go through them all. Yes, he's had some failures, but you know, no one has 100% success rate. But it's the passion. It's you know, who can forget watching Fabio on the bench under Conte? I thought he was the manager at one point when I saw him jumping up and going mental at players in those early days. Never seen a director of football so passionate about the club. And, you know, he lives and breathes football. You know, you don't stay at Juventus for 10 years and win all the awards and not be good at your job. And who can forget the first transfer window when he came in? We were in trouble. We were struggling. And he brought in Bentancur and Kulu. And a lot of people went, who? Or they're not very impressed.
That was a final day. That was a final day that was a dream world final day. Yeah. I remember that.
And a lot of people just were saying, well, you know, it's very underwhelming, you know. But meanwhile, he picked up Bentancur for 17 million, right? Yeah. And he picked up Kulu for 35 million, but spread over 2 years with bits in loans and bits that it was a very, very good deal. And that was the deal that really helped us to secure fourth place. I could go on and on what he's done with the academy. It's what you can't see at the club that I used to go on about. And people used to say, oh, no one's interested in that because that's down the line tomorrow. Fans want results now. They're not interested in 2 years, 3 years down the line. But what we're seeing now in our academy is stuff that Fabio did when he first came in, ripping it all up, convincing Daniel to pay above the odds for wages wise for our players. I'll give you an example. We lost two Southampton boys two of our top kids to Southampton, our academy boys. And although they never played for Southampton, one went for 8 million and I think one went for 15 million without actually kicking a ball for the club. That's money that should have been going to Spurs. And if you look at the academy now and what we've achieved, where we were, I mean, we were at a point of relegation. I mean, luckily they changed the rules, but we're looking at a different animal now. And I just think that when you look at how he operates, he mixes the network of people he has with the data-led. I'm not going to go into how Lange does it, but it's just a better fit. And I just think Vinny, with his relationship with Edu, will have a great relationship with Fabio because he's been at a big club. I mean, you look at Johan Lang, with the greatest respect, you worked for Aston Villa and then you got demoted. This guy's track record is, he's on another level. And, I remember when I used to big him up, oh, yeah, this is the guy that wanted Nuno to come to Spurs. What a joke, right? And look at Nuno now. I just don't think that when he brings in players and when he brings in a manager, he will be looking at a different level. He would never, ever have brought in Ange Postecoglou. Not a chance. Not a chance. And, we're seeing the links now with Xavi and others. It'll be very interesting to see. But I think this is a step back up the ladder. We spent the whole season playing snakes and ladders, climbing up, sliding down, climbing up, sliding down. And now we can't find a ladder to get back up. And this guy is going to help us. It's just how much he can help us come this summer transfer window. Let's just hope that we're armed with Champions League money. Like I said, if we win it, and the money that's going to be coming to us, Sean, that we were talking about, that Spurs were only 4% down on last year's money with no European football and the least amount of games they played in 16 years. Imagine what the income will be and the expenditure that we could possibly get should we have the 30 events and Champions League money. Because remember, when we were in it in 2019, there wasn't the riches that are available now. They're on another level.
The debt was higher. The stadium wasn't like
money.
Early teething problems. There was none of the stuff that we have now. This is a machine that can survive without Champions League revenue. But obviously, you can't do that and also fail in the transfer market. But if we get European glory, Lubo, and we have the machine. I know you hate the guy who's responsible for the machine, and we'll come to that a bit later on. But I'm not saying that you don't. I know you acknowledge all the his value in that department. But if it's true that not only is Don coming back, but the rumours are that he's also got final say on certain transfers, on wage structure, and all those things. The story is not only is he coming back to work under Vinny, but he's been what we've always wanted, which is here's your budget, you make it work.
Yeah,
you make it work. You know what you got to do. You got to structure the deals, and maybe there'll be some oversight, which I would expect because he's not an accountant. But that's what you wanted, Ian, right? That's what most people want. They're okay with Levy. I know you want him gone, but in a world where he doesn't go, someone like Paratici, if not him, then someone else, but that has ultimate control over the way to spend the budget. That's what most people would want, right? Most moderate fans would want the genius of Levy creating the funds, but also someone else making the decisions.
You cannot ever see Spurs going out and buying a player, even spending the 85 million that we sold Bale and Kane for, because it just doesn't fit the business model. And what you said was that the one thing you just said, Sean, Levy gives Paratici the budget. Paratici may look at the team squads and say, do you know what? We need X amounts. And the budget goes nowhere near it. But Paratici can't do his job properly because Levy's only about giving him a specific budget because they never want to take that step up. So until Levy goes, none of them are going to be allowed to do their job to their, to their full potential because they're just being held back. They've got one hand. Everybody who works for Levy has one hand tied behind his back. Levy's a megalomaniac. He's all over everything. How long will Vinny stick around with Levy all over him like a rash?
Well, hang on. There's a difference between not being able to do your job and being able to do what you want to do with no limitations, right? Like everyone, doesn't matter what director of football, doesn't matter what club you work for, everyone is going to have, if you are a director of football, but you're not the top guy, you're still going to have to work within certain permutations. So like the idea that Paratici might go, I need 500 million to spend, and Daniel Levy says, well, obviously that's not going to happen.
Sean, it's not bottomless pit. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that if you have a wage cap that's really low, then you can only buy a certain level of player unless you're majorly clever. And, teams around the world, they've got scouting and recruitment networks that are superb these days. It's not like it was 10, 20 years ago. Everybody knows who all the good players are. And if you're going to keep...
Johan Lang.
Well, I'll tell you, Johnny, in Lang's defence, Berghvall at 8.5 million.
Yeah, no. Okay, that's one. Okay. Yeah.
That's a hell of a deal.
So stick on the topic for a second. I just want to get to the bottom of this. I'm not looking for a major row tonight.
No, of course not.
I just want to get my head around it. But if you think that Don Paratici, as someone says here correctly, and Vinny and Fab will be climbing the walls in no time, I'll let you, Ian, answer this, and I'll let Johnny have his take as well. I'll sit back and shut up. I've been talking a lot today. Is there an argument to say, if that's the case, then why did Don Paratici come? I would make the argument that Don Paratici said, I've got an offer from Milan. I'm plate spinning, right? I'm the master of plate spinners. Mm-hmm. I've got a job. I've got an offer from Milan. I'm happy to go there. What have you got? And Daniel Levy's, I think, has said, because I think there's evidence to suggest that the only director of football since the Dutch guy that was here, well, way back. I forget his name. He went to Chelsea. That Daniel Levy trusts this geezer, right? And that he, as Johnny said a million times, that Daniel Levy gave him the keys to the kingdom with regards to the youth revolution. I would imagine if I'm Don Paratici, I've come back and gone, all right, I'll come back once my debt to society or whatever has been paid. And but if I come back, I want to come back with certain conditions. And I think it sounds like Daniel Levy's probably given, because I don't think Daniel Levy Paratici will come back and play the same role as he played before. He's going to come back and want more. And I think that Daniel Levy looks like he's given that. So I just don't subscribe to this notion that, a leopard never changes its spots. I think Daniel Levy has clearly changed a little bit in the last 3 years. Otherwise, there's no chance that he would have given as much money as he's given to the wrong geezer in Ange Postecoglou. But you can't argue with the fact that Daniel Levy's given more money than ever before to this guy, right? So is there not some wiggle room in your mind, or are you just hard line firm that Daniel Levy's a dickhead and that's it?
No, I didn't say he's a dickhead. I just think that he interfered. He didn't let Mitchell do his job. He didn't let Paul Barber do his job. He didn't let Michael Edwards do his job. These are all top people, Sean, that he had. Full marks to him for bringing these top people in. But then if you bring in quality, you've got to let them do their job properly. And a leopard doesn't change his spots. If you get to 62 years old, Sean, you're so... No. Please God you do. No, please God you do, Sean.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time, mate. So
please God you do. But if you get to 62 and you've worked a certain way, you're just not going to change. You're just not going to change. And, Conte said no, first of all. Then they got Nuno. Then they went back. What did they offer Conte that Conte didn't get? So, I mean, we're talking about just over 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that Conte must have been promised something. And for his rants that he came out with, it couldn't have happened. So, Paratici knows what he's getting into. Yes, he does. Is he still around? He didn't get the Milan job for whatever reason. Milan had taken somebody else on, I believe. And thankfully for us, because I think Paratici did, for all the reasons that Johnny gave earlier, Paratici did a superb job. But you look at the money that he was given, ultimately, you're looking at Kulu and Bentancur, 55, that's 2 players. Vicario, 17, Udogie, 16, 33.
Sarr, 12.
Sarr, 12 million.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 6 players for 104 million there? Is that how I think my figures
are? Not a lot, right? Not a lot.
It's not a lot, is it? Romero's 42, so you got 150 grand for 7 players. Now, Arsenal go out and spend.
Didn't pay for him, but he paid in the wages.
Okay. It's all, the average price per player is low.
It was low.
Hang on. Can I just add in there? Pedro Porro, 45 million. Cuti Romero, 47 million.
No, I said Romero's 42. Porro was 39, I think. We lost Porro. We could have had 4 weeks earlier. We lost several games in January, but at the end of the day, he got, instead of paying quickly, he got the deal in where he also gave up 15% of the Marcus Edwards payback when Edwards leaves. So again, for the sake of whatever it was, we lost 4 games, probably cost us, cost us again in terms of maybe league position, maybe getting into a Champions League, possibly. We lost momentum. It's just everything he does is just geared around money and not around the football team. So after 24 years, Sean, I'm sure you understand that I'm really sceptical. Having seen the way he has acted for 24 years, and you're saying, well, maybe he's changed. I hope he's changed. I really do hope he changes, and I hope he gives Paratici carte blanche to go out and sort this team out, because first team squad needs rebuilding again.
I mean, I don't believe that. Personally, I don't believe that, Ian, because I think the manager, when I look at someone like, let's look at Glasner, for example, at Crystal Palace. Mateta couldn't hit a barn door. Everyone says he's got to go. He's come in, he's turned him around to the striker he is now. He's making Eze sit in the diamond now, whereas he was going on the left and the right, pulling him over the pitch. It's top coaching. The one thing I'll say about Paratici, and the difference we're in the position that we are in now is because of him, is the fact that we have spent years, when you go back, think about it. We didn't spend any money for 500 days, Sean.
Yeah.
Then he gives that idiot Steve Hitchin all that money to go and blow it on Ndombele, massive wage, massive fee. Jack Clark, Lo Celso, and Ryan Sessegnon. And between them all, they hardly played a game. And between them all, how much money? And Ndombele we had to pay off. Sessegnon we didn't get a penny for. Lo Celso, we've got half a leg of Johnny Cardoso, right? And Jack Clark we got
Brian Hill.
Huh?
Brian Hill.
Yeah, no, I'm just going on about the Hitchin ones. I'm
2019, Sean, 2019.
Going on. So we've had 5 years with nothing. Then we've spent all that money on those players. Now, what happened then was we had a situation where we had a squad full of players where there was no value. Apart from Harry Kane, no one was worth anything. We couldn't get any money for anyone. We weren't making profit on any of our investments. And if you look at it now, when you look at the players that we have now, if we were forced to sell them, we're looking at making money. we're looking at, we're not looking at losing Romero for a massive loss. We're not looking at selling Pedro Porro or Destiny Udogie or Pape Matar Sarr or any of those for a massive loss. In fact, quite the opposite. It has value. So, from that point of view, we're in a much better position because of that, of those smart transfer deals. Yes, we've had some that gone wrong. Richie, you probably get 20 million for Richie now. Brian Gill, you'd be lucky to get anything. Manor Solomon was another deal that he did. Now, people laughed at that one, got him for nothing. He's had an exceptional season for Leeds. Whatever you may say, the guy's been out for a year. He's come back. They idolise him up there. You look at what we paid for Jed Spence at the time, yeah? And everyone's...
Levy deal.
Pardon? It wasn't
a Levy deal. Let's not be giving credit to Fabio on that one.
He wasn't just a Levy deal, okay? All right? He just was not. There's too much. I'm not going to go into the tie there, all right? But it wasn't a Levy deal. But look, my point here is that if we can bring Fabio back and, we at least have assets that we can sell.
Let me ask this, Johnny. Let me ask this, Johnny, right? Is Fabio's track record at Tottenham... Okay, I think we can all agree that he made hay with what he was given, right? Like whilst the sun was like barely breaking through the clouds, and he did well, right? Like in terms of finding those nuggets of gold. In a world where we go and win the Europa League, and suddenly we're a behemoth again, is Paratici going to be able to find 50, 60 million pound players that are going to be worth 100 in 2 years' time, like he is at finding 10 million, 15 million pound players that are worth 30 or 40.
Because he knows his football. Listen, he's been around the top for a long, long time. I'll tell you one thing he's not doing. He's never signing Timo Werner for 170 grand a week and then signing him again. So he's sitting at home for the last 6 months, eating schnitzel and sauerkraut at our expense, 170 grand a week. Where is he? We should do things. Where's Timo? Yeah. Is he really that bad? Has he become really that bad that he couldn't actually get on that pitch and help us out when we had the injury crisis? I mean, what has the world come to? I won't go through all the other signings. So rather than rehashing old news, let's think about let's look at future news. Yeah. I'm saying the same question again. Then, if he's given in a world where we do win the Europa League, and he's given a bumper budget, and maybe look, there's noise out today. Romero obviously to Atletico Madrid, but Atletico haven't got the money, so they're trying to figure out. No one's got the money, Sean. No one.
Yeah, I know they haven't got the money, but Man City have got the money, and there's stories out. Pedro Porro for 80 million quid. Let's assume that maybe 2 of the 3 bigger players want out at this end of the summer just because they see the grass is greener, and you can add an extra 100 million quid or 120 million quid towards some sort of. I don't know if any of that's true or not, but who knows? But is Fabio Paratici the sort of guy that's going to spend 150 million pound as well as he spends 50 million pound?
Yeah, no, because I look, as I said to you, you don't spend 10 years at Juventus winning trophy after trophy, finding nuggets. Remember, he was the one that bought Dragusin, Kulu, and all these players to Juventus through the academies and all the rest of it. He's not just a guy who, he's the guy that walked into our academy and said, this is an absolute shit show. Right?
I hear you.
So
Johan Lang's the master of kids, and that Fabio Paratici is not.
No. It's absolute crap, right? He was the one that recognised, these are the academy's full of Instagram kids that are never going to make it at the club. Get rid of them all. Right? We got rid of them to the point where we hardly had a squad, and he's brought people in, and he's brought. We've signed talent at 50. We were having a situation where players who are on our doorstep were going to play for Arsenal, for Chelsea, for West Ham, and they're on our doorstep. We were missing everybody. And, we have been recruiting. We have got obviously our own academy players, but we've been recruiting from Man City, from Chelsea, from Arsenal, from other clubs. And that's how it should be done. We haven't got there yet. We're far from the finished article in there. It's a job that hasn't been finished. But I don't have any issue or thought that this is a guy that doesn't know talent. The fact that he only paid 17 million for Bentancur is neither here or there, because before that injury, just before that World Cup, just after that World Cup, he was the best player at our club. Even that included Harry Kane at the time. He was unbelievable.
I still think he's probably the best midfielder. I just don't like seeing him 6. I think he's a 6. He's got so many weaknesses. Before I come back to Lubo, or to either of you actually, I saw a YouTube video, a Twitter video about some kid whose name I forget. It sounded, was it bless or wonderful? His name was like some sort of like superlative, like
Miracle Adewola.
Miracle, that's it, yeah, Miracle. Like, I saw that video, I was like, who is this? He looks unbelievable. Is he Ian or Johnny?
Young, Shawnee. Sean. Look. The thing is, it's like Barnett as well. You know, I get all these messages. Johnny, why isn't Barnett in the first team? He's 16. Come on.
How old is Miracle?
I think he's. What is he? 14, 15?
I'm pretty sure he's 17.
He was in the under-18 game we went to in the Youth Cup.
But it was. I don't think he's 17, is he?
I think he is 17. Yeah, I think he looks like, I don't know.
Look, there's so many players.
Look at that and kind of go, that's the sort of guy you like to see in your youth academy.
Yeah, but look, Mikey Moore, right? People forget. I mean, Mikey's still 17. He's not 18 till August. I mean, last year he's 17. Last year, you know, people were saying, "Oh, Mikey needs to be in the first team," right? I mean, I've seen him play a lot, and he was 16. He's not going to be playing every week. He was only 17 in August. So, you know, that progression, you know, he's 18 in August. Next year, he's going to develop even more. I just think that the step up, what we see in academy football is great. It's exciting football. It's great, but it's not men's football. When you look at Jamie Donnelly and he's moved to Orient in League One, up until Christmas, you know, he was finding it difficult. You know, he hadn't got one assist up until December. I know he finished the season with 8 assists and 10 goals, or 10 goals and 8 assists. Yeah, 10 assists and 8 goals, I think it was. You have to find your feet. Men's football is a different animal. If you listed all the players over the last 15 years that people have told me, both our club, Arsenal, Man City, whatever, who are going to be the next big thing. Josh Onomar, Reece Nelson, and Marcus Edwards, I'm not saying they haven't had a career, but they haven't reached anywhere near the heights. And, you know, John Bostock, we could list a whole load of them that were, who were exceptional as kids. But that journey from academy, you know, under 18, under 21 level to the top. But there are people that shine through very, very early, and you just know. And Mikey Moore's one of them. I thought Jamie Donnelly was one of them. You know, you look at Kobe Mainu. You look at, I mean, there's a few players around the Premier League now, young players who you can see. Miley came through last season very early towards the end of the season. He hasn't had as many games this season because it's natural progression. So it will happen, but not under this manager.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying there. Ian, I want to come to you as the conversation has pivoted towards some of these young players. I don't know your take on Mikey Moore. I know you're a massive fan of Archie Gray. I know you're a massive advocate for the youth, like Johnny is. Mikey Moore, there's a lot of debate, at least on this channel, regarding, you know, whether or not he should be getting minutes that, you know, our other talent, other loanies, whatever, that are a couple of years older but still kids themselves, whether it's Odebear, whether it's Matisse Tell. You know, people will know my take on it. I think that if you're old enough, you're good enough. But if you're good enough to be in the first team contention, then your age is irrelevant. At that point, you have to be considered and compared to the people that are competing for your spot. So if you're Mikey Moore, you have to be. If you're Ange Postecoglou, and if you're Big Ange, you have to look at, you know, like, is he going to provide as much value now, not in 2 years? I don't care about 2 years because I won't be here in 2 years. And I personally don't think that Mikey Moore has done like massive things. That's not to dismiss him. It's not to sit there and poo-poo him, because I think he will be a good talent. But at the same time, I don't think he's necessarily that. He hasn't proven to be a Wayne Rooney type where he's just you can't argue with keeping him out of the team. But a lot of people say that that they want to see Mikey Moore on merit ahead of Matisse Tell, ahead of other players that are that are in and out amongst the first team. What's your take on that one, Ian?
Start with Mikey Moore. Came on against Alkmaar, 15-20 minute cameo that was absolutely brilliant. Within those 15 minutes, I think Richie got the penalty. That all came about with the pressure that Moore was exerting, taking on, ripping the fullback to pieces. Yeah. He played against, he was ill. Soon after, he came back. He played against Everton. It was a complete shambles in the first half at Goodison. He came on, and within 5 or 10 minutes, he's put the ball on a plate for Richie to score. He scored a lovely goal against Elfsborg, nice individual goal. And yesterday, it was the only time that I actually sat up during the game, because that was one of the worst games I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It was
I literally fell asleep, Ian. I literally fell asleep. I'm not surprised. Before the Tottenham game, but
he was falling asleep, stood up.
I was, do you know what? I bloody forgot the programs as well. I was so, I was nearly asleep watching it.
Yeah.
And walked out without the programs. And for me, he put Spence down the wing. He got pulled. Went straight through 2 players in the middle of the pitch. One of them just yanked him down, took him out. For me, get through Bodo, put him in that 10 position, because we haven't got another 10 at the club now that Madison's missing. There is no other 10. Forget Kulu. Kulu is never a 10.
Mikey Moore can play the 10, do you?
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see how he gets on against Palace and against Villa.
Right.
And if he's up to it, and if he comes up to it, then I would think outside the box, and I would throw him into that final. Because he can create. I think sometimes
that's brave.
Sometimes you take a risk, you take a chance. I remember Eddie Howe last year somebody said, "How come you're playing Lewis Miley in that specific role?" And he said, "Look, I've got more experienced players that I could bring in and put there instead of Lewis. But if I did, I'd be putting a square peg in a round hole." And I'm just using that metric just to say he is the only 10 we've got.
Well, look, you're saying that you'd rather see him than Decky?
Definitely. Decky has done nothing since he came back, Sean.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
I've got to tell you something.
Mikey Moore hasn't been played in the 10.
No,
so he's your poison. I just feel like it's like a wild time to experiment.
You know what though, Sean? Yeah,
sometimes
you're right, Sean.
Decky's not even worth a place in the first 11 at the moment, Sean. He has been utter rubbish for weeks.
No, I hear. He has been He has been rubbish. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But
you come back from a long injury, Sean, right? We've seen with Madison, we've seen with a lot of others. To come back and play in the tempo that Ange expects is very difficult. And as Ian said, it's like running through treacle. But the one thing I've said, and I did posts on it today on Twitter, on the groups, and on my Insta, that I feel that Mikey Moore, having seen him play on the 10 as a 10 in the academy, he is capable of picking up that ball and running at players. He's got a low centre of gravity and he's got a great balance about him to run between defenders, as we saw against AZ Alkmaar. He's got a beautiful cultured pass on him and a foot, and 100% he could play as a 10. And I'd be as bold to say that he played a Bodo.
I just want to really clarify where you guys are both sat on this, because I feel like I might be living in a madhouse where I'm the one who's lost his mind, or everyone else has, and I'm the only one who's sober. But I'm sitting there kind of going, I understand what you're saying about Decky. I get it. Lubo, don't disagree. I think he's been terrible. I think he burnt himself out in the first half of the season, and it's not for the first time, by the way. The last 3 seasons, he's had a good first half and a terrible second half, and there's some man management that needs to improve there. But I look at Mikey Moore, and I'm thinking the reason why you guys are saying what you're saying is because he's one of our own and because he's 17.
No.
I'm saying if his name was Mikey Morski and he was from Dynamo Zagreb and he'd come into our team, you wouldn't be saying that, because I don't know what it is that you're telling. Where's the evidence?
Well, Paul, Sean,
you can't play him in the 10 in a fucking.
No, but Sean.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, but listen, let me tell you something, right? If you've seen him play, right? When I first saw him play, I thought he gave me vibes of Gaza, right? With that barrel chest, right? The way he picked up the ball and drove through players in the middle of the park, right? And he just glided past them. Now, I know that's academy level, but my point here is that we're in a situation. Would Mickey Moore be playing as a 10? No, right? We've lost Berghvall, who can create. We've lost Madison. We've got no true creative 10, someone who's sat there naturally. Jamie Donnelly can play that position, and so can Mickey Moore. What I'm saying,
if Jamie Donnelly was at the club right now, you'd be putting him in on Thursday.
I would be looking at playing with someone who's got some creativity. Yeah.
Well, but I'm asking you specifically about one of these young boys. You would on Thursday. Madison's out. You guys would relegate Decky to the bench.
I didn't say Decky to the bench. I'd have Decky out on the right hand side. So.
Okay, so Johnson to the bench, who's our top goal scorer.
Yeah, but come on. You know, what have you said?
I'm deliberately arguing with you because I want to have a decent conversation here. But are we saying that we're putting Mickey Moore in to start in the Europa League semi-final?
Look, are you saying that you want to play football with absolute zero creativity? Zero.
I don't think we need creativity on Thursday night, personally. I think we need to go
So if they score or they score a couple, how are we breaking them down?
Lump it into the box 100 times.
And who's right? Okay. Listen, I'm just thinking. I'm just saying. I'm not an advocate that Mickey Moore should be starting right now every game. Right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that needs must, and sometimes you have to think out the box and be creative in a one-off opportunity. Listen, I can see us getting to the final and having the same scenarios we had back in 2019 when we've got a half-fit Heung Min Son playing on the left-hand side. I mean, I can see stuff like that. All I'm saying is...
I don't disagree on that one as well. I think that's a massive problem. I don't think that Sonny should start... unless Sonny's fit, like, by Saturday... Yeah. And then you make him play 90 minutes against Palace, 90 minutes in the following game, etc. And then we see where we're at. But basically, no, he doesn't deserve to start just because he's Sonny and if he hasn't played any minutes. But I just want to clarify where we're at, guys. Again, I'm not.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying he should start.
I'm being a protagonist here. I just think it's wild that we're saying that Mickey Moore deserves to start.
No. Listen, Sean. No. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying that he can play. He's the only player that we have currently that can unlock a defence and is capable of doing that. I'm not saying he should start, but he should definitely play a key role in the game against what's his name? Against them.
Bodo.
Yeah.
Bodo, yeah.
Come on as a sub. I wouldn't have to start him in the game.
No,
but Luca, you were saying it, right?
No, what I said was I think on Thursday we've got to stifle them. We've got to pack the midfield, and I think we'll get through. So Thursday's not the game to start Mickey Moore. What I would like to do, if we can get through Thursday, play him at the 10, see how he does against Palace and Villa. Johnson creates nothing. Sonny's not fit. Tell is a complete waste of time. God knows what they are doing, talking about signing him. If they sign him...
Wait. Okay, this is more madness coming here. Matisse Tell was the best player on Sunday by a country mile.
No, you're kidding, Sean. Danso was the best player on Sunday.
Danso was very good, and Matisse Tell.
What did Tell do? Apart
from the assist, because the assist, first of all,
the assist was good. Outside of that, Sean,
he's a workhorse and a show pony. We're going to call him a show horse or a work pony. I don't know what we do there, but he works tirelessly, and in an environment where 8 out of that 11 players on that pitch have absolutely no real chance of playing in the semi-final or the final if we get there. I'm like, okay, well, I want to see whether these guys are earning their pay packet, because professionalism is like par for the course when you get to play football. When you get to kick a ball around that earns 60, 80, 100 grand a week, that to me Like when people like you guys pay 100 quid or whatever you did to go to that game, 30 quid, but obviously, generally speaking, you travel around the world. Like, you have a par for the course, in my mind, relationship with work ethic. And I watched that game and all of them from 1 to 11, with the exception in the hard-working areas. And I'm not going to consider defenders as hard-working areas. I think they just have to concentrate, but they haven't got to work hard. But at the front end, Maddison Tell was the only guy who put in a shift. And in that for the first goal that we scored, not only did he chase the guy down, he won the ball back. And people say, it was a tap-in for Udogie. Yeah, it was a tap-in for Udogie. But the threading of that pass, I don't know if because you were probably watching it for 100 meters away, but like the threading of that pass no one spoke about it, but it was delicious. There was 4 West Ham feet that missed the ball by an inch. It was pin perfect through a crowded, like, conglomerate of different feet there. And I was like, that I don't get what people don't get about him. I understand his output isn't there yet, but in terms of, like, Johnny, me and you talk about what we saw when we first saw Lucas Berghvall, and both of us have said
from the off.
You see something in a 7 to 18-year-old. You see something where he wants to get on the ball. His work ethic, his desire. He's not afraid. He's like, this doesn't intimidate me. And that, with the absence of a sample size of, like, how do you do in the games, that's enough as a first instinct to go, I want to see more from him, because he wants more of the ball and he's not intimidated. And I look at Maddison Tell amongst 10 other players who couldn't give a flying fuck because it's a dead rubber game, and Maddison Tell is chasing down blind alleys and working, not just against West Ham, by the way, but in every game that he has played. That guy is getting better and better and better. And if you are judging him on output, you're missing the point. Because if you judge him on output, then you have to also, to be logically consistent, be waxing lyrical and singing the praises of Brennan Johnson. And I don't hear you doing that, Lubo.
Oh, come on, Sean, come on, mate.
No, I'm saying if the reason why you don't like Maddison Tell is because he doesn't have any output, then output's important to you, and therefore Brennan Johnson should.
Don't put me in that bag, because I've never. You can't put me in the bag because I've never said it. Right? We both said that the problem with Brennan Johnson is he's got a coach that doesn't coach him to improve. Because if he had a pair of bollocks, right, he'd be picking up that ball and he'd be driving down the thing, trying to beat his man. So what? You get brought down, Brennan, right? You'll win us a free kick. And guess what? You might beat your man with your pace and get to the byline and cross it.
I don't want to get sidetracked by Brennan Johnson.
No, because you said work ethic, right? And right, Brennan Johnson, I don't believe has a massive.
No, I agree with you. So we're not going to disagree on Brennan Johnson. We're talking about Maddison Tell. I'm saying if the reason why you don't rate Maddison Tell, I'm not sure, Johnny. I'm not sure if I'm including you in this one. Yeah. But Ian, you said, why the fuck are we going to do anything with this guy? Why are we even thinking about making that permanent? And I'm saying, if output is the missing piece, then to be logically consistent, if output is what's missing, then you must be singing the fucking praises of Brennan Johnson. But I've never heard you doing that. So,
sorry. Do you know what, Sean, you can be a busy fool and Tell is a busy fool. I'm sorry, mate. His output, apart from one moment on Sunday, he tried to beat his player 7 times. He failed on 6 of them. I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. Micky Moore beats players for fun, and Tell is blocking the pathway for more. And if you end up paying 50 million for Tell, plus the 10 million loan, right, you end up in effect, because I know Levy's looking at this as a contra with the Kane money. If you look at it, then you have ended up doing a Kane getting 25 million and Tell for Kane, and that has got to be the worst transfer bit of business I have ever seen in my life. I'm sorry.
Johnny, what's your take on Maddison Tell?
He ain't worth 50 million, right? Okay. Now, the thing is, there's no doubt he has talent. Okay. That isn't in question. The problem is, how do you quantify that talent at this stage? And the truth of the matter is, you can't. Therefore, the only deal, in my opinion, that can be done is to a further year's loan. I'm very conscious, like Ian is, not to block the path of Micky. And we might see in a year's time that Micky Moore, being 18, coming up to 19, he's gone up a level. And quite honestly, he's passed Matthias Tell, right, in his ability. in influencing the game. We don't know. We're surmising here. But to say that Matthias Tell will go on to be worth 50 million right now is nonsensical. He's got 3 goals, of which one was a penalty, one was a tap-in. What I'd like to see from Matthias Tell, you can't question his work rate because he has worked hard. Because what is he playing for? He's playing hard to establish himself at a new club, whilst those around him are just can't be asked. I mean, you saw it when Ange was being abused. None of the players gave a shit. It was Matthias Tell that put his arm around Ange and was telling all the rest to go away, because the guy wants to prove himself, right? Because he's been pushed out at Bayern Munich, and you can see the keenness to improve, to prove himself. But what would impress us as Spurs fans, I think, and think that he's worth more money, is if he picked up one of those balls on the outside, ran across the goal and curled one into the top corner, or drove one into the bottom low corner, something like that, to give us an idea that is there somewhat in his talent. We saw it, not this season, but last season against Bayern Munich. And when you look at the stats and look for content on those goals, a lot of the goals he scored 2 seasons ago, last season, should I say, were, where Bayern Munich were sort of 2 or 3 up, and he'd come on for the last 20 minutes. Can't knock a goal's a goal. But, he's struggled a bit, both at Bayern Munich. I think he's had 27 or 28 games this season, and has got in Germany and here and in cups and all the rest of it. He's got 2 goals and a penalty. One of them was a tap-in. He needs to show us more. I've got no problem taking a loan out with him, but I think most Spurs fans, if you question them, would you pay £50 million or £40 million?
I agree with that. He's not worth money.
No, I would say.
Johnny, how many wingers do you need? How many young wingers do you need? You've got Micky, who they're playing on the left at the moment, who I think is probably a better 10. I've seen him play in the 10 for the in the youth.
Yeah, we have, exactly.
Terrific. You've got Moore, you've got Yang.
Wait, sorry, who was the first name you mentioned?
Micky Moore.
Oh, Micky Moore.
Yang's on loan at QPR.
Yeah.
You've got Udogie. Right, Johnson is not a winger. Whatever anybody says, he's not a winger. He can't beat this man. You don't see him. The one thing Werner could do was beat the player. He just couldn't put it in the right place when he got to the byline. Yeah. So for me personally, I think you've got to get a top winger, and I would go and buy Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. You need someone there. You've got Sonny. I suspect they'll keep Sonny for another year. You've got Moore. You've got Odebear, you've got Yang. That's enough in terms of wingers.
Why are you promoting Yang to being?
No. What I'm saying is you've got Yang's 5th. Take Yang out, probably have another loan because he's not ready from what QPR fans tell me. He's okay, but he's not ready for us just yet.
Are any of them good enough? Is Sonny good enough?
Is Sonny good enough at the moment? Probably not, but knowing Levy,
next season.
Levy isn't going to want to lose the Korean fan base just yet. He's going to want to try and get Yang to come in and take over when Sonny leaves.
But we're talking about value. We're talking about value on the pitch here, right? We're not talking about kind of, we're talking about who's good enough as a player, not what Daniel Levy's going to prioritise. I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't know what. By the way, I am not in any way, shape, or form undermining Micky Moore. I hope I'm not coming across that way. I hope he's as good as you guys think he will be. I just don't know. I wait until I see it. I'm not going to get sucked into bullshit because the guy banged in 30 goals. What I've seen from Jamie Donnelly is a geezer that doesn't look phased in professional football, and he's done wonderful things. I can't wait to see what level he is at when we go on tour in the summer. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. But I don't know yet whether he's ready for the Premier League. There's a massive gap between League One and Premier League football. And maybe, Leyton Orient go up and he stays for another year. I think that Micky Moore needed a loan. Matisse Tell is, I think what we're guilty of right now is hating on Matisse Tell because we have our wonder boy who isn't a wonder boy yet, that is, missing out on minutes.
Sure.
You're suggesting he's worthy of, but I haven't seen it. And Matisse Tell you're saying is useless, and I'm just like, what?
No. Didn't say he's useless. He's not the right He's not the right purchase for where we are at the moment.
Not for 50 million quid, but if, like, as Johnny's
Oh,
recommended,
not for 25, 30 million pound. There are too many other positions that we need that money for. And we've got young players.
So on that basis, you're happy to roll the dice with Mikey Moore next season on the hope that he's fully over his virus, whatever it was, and that he's under a new manager going to be coached and trained, and that he's ready to make that leap. Of which, I'm sorry, I will maintain, none of us have seen evidence to suggest that he's ready for that leap yet.
Okay. What I would do?
Sonny's on the list. Sonny's a cash cow, but on the decline. Odebear, who's only played, sparring minutes here and there, and he's on the back of an 11-month injury. That I really like Odebear, by the way. I think he's really. I loved him at Burnley.
He's got more goals than matches tell in less than half.
But again, I think that we're guilty a little bit as Tottenham fans of things like statements like this. Brennan Johnson, Solanke's shit because look at his output. Richie's awesome compared to Solanke because look at his output. Brennan Johnson's dog shit because look at his input. Well, Brennan Johnson's actually awesome because look at his output. I think people like Solanke, who are workhorses, I think some of their end product is represented in the output that sits at under the name Brennan Johnson. And I think that there is a massive difference between judging people on output and recognizing input if it's not necessarily represented in their own stats, but it happens to be because they're workhorses. And I think Matisse Tell is a workhorse on the wing who offers value. We don't have workhorses on the wing. I said this 1,000 times last season. You cannot go into a Premier League fixture with a front four of James Maddison in the 10, Sonny on the left, Brennan Johnson on the right, and say Solanke in the 9, because what you only have there is one man who's going to work hard and three geezers who ain't going to do fuck all apart from wait for the ball to be put at their feet. And that to me is problematic. And I come back to this notion that under the Ange system, you need people that are going to contribute, and you need triggers that everyone needs to press at the right time. Now, there's weaknesses in Solanke's game in that he burns up too much calories and too much energy chasing blind alleys when no one else is pressing. And I hear anyone who says that sort of thing. But for me, this season system, if we're analysing these players on this season system, then
you can't.
Well, you shouldn't. But if that's all we've got to go on, then you have to recognise the fact that this system requires people who are workhorses. And Matisse Tell, as a winger, works harder than most wingers in the Premier League. And I think that is something that shouldn't be understated. No doubt it's not good enough.
Sean, a few comments coming through talking about Manor Solomon. He's coming back to the club. Why we think his inputs in the short period before he got injured was pretty good. He did okay at Fulham. He did okay at Fulham as well. And if you've got Sonny who's going to further decline, and if you've got a shortage of money for some reason, for whatever, well, we know what reason there's going to be a shortage of money, then you would take the money hopefully from Saudi for Sonny, because now's the time to cash in when you can.
I'd sell Sonny tomorrow, personally.
Right, and so I would go and buy Mbuemo with the Sonny money. I'd have Mbuemo, Odebear, Solomon, and Mikey Moore.
Sorry, Lou.
That's all right. That's okay.
Fucking hell, Lou, you were a good-looking boy in your heavy metal days. Gee whiz. Icon, sensational. You're a good-looking man. But you're still a good-looking man today. Listen, I just think that Sonny's value is diminishing, and Tottenham will hold on to the cash cow, but the cash cow can be problematic for the. You're talking about people that are cop blocking Mikey Moore. Sonny's a cop block for Mikey Moore.
Yeah, I mean, you think of the minutes, but Johnny, you think of the minutes that Tell's had, that Werner's had this season, that Mikey Moore could have played. Him coming on a sub, it's.
He should have been coming on a sub.
He should have had a lot more minutes.
Listen, we probably see more minutes of him. I know. We've seen more minutes of him, but probably than most people probably leading up to the last season. But I don't know. For me, the writing off of Manor Solomon as not a chance as he's coming back is a snobbery that this club suffers from, because how do you know? He was out for a year with a major injury. They thought he wasn't sure where he was going to go with it. I was at Burnley away, one of the first games under Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, the 5-1 game, yeah.
Yeah, where he absolutely tore him to shreds again and again and again.
Championship.
Yeah, but hang on, you can only play what's in front of you, Sean. I'm talking about when we were in the Premier League.
There's a reason why when we loaned him out to the Championship, not to a Premier League team, right?
Because he had a long injury, Sean. Okay, that's the reason why. Right, you're looking for the negative in it. I'm telling you, right, he played in the Champions League. He's led Shakhtar Donetsk playing as a false 9. This isn't.
He played like 6 games for Shakhtar Donetsk and like 4 games for Fulham. It's a wild
Why is it wild, Sean? Why is it wild? Ask any Leeds fan.
Yeah,
right?
Championship level.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. So they said the same about Jared Bowen, Championship level. Jack Grealish, Championship level. I could go on about the amount.
I could name you 1,000 players that didn't make it from the Championship.
Right, okay, I can listen. Listen. Right, no, it's bullshit. It's snobbery. It's not
snobbery. It's an opinion.
No, it's not, because Adam Walton, when I suggested Adam Walton, right, last year in November, we don't want him. He's in the frigging Championship. 20 million, 24 million. He ends up going to Crystal Palace.
Ones and zeros. The only way to settle this about Manor Solomon is the ones and zeros game.
Well, you know what's going to happen, Sean. You just know it. And
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how the chat. There's 500 people here. By the way, smash the like. By the way, smash the like, smash the subscribe if you're new, notification bell, get over to Football Inc. We're streaming over there as well. Make sure you smash the subscribe over there. That's mine and Johnny's channel, but it's Johnny's baby.
I don't think he should even come back pre-season.
There
you go.
Do I think he should come back pre-season? Look, if there's a deal to be had with Leeds, and Leeds have got decent money, which I think they will have, promotion budget. If we can get 20 million for him, I would have taken. I said to you last week, mate, I would take 15 million. I'll take 12 million quid for him. I don't see him at Tottenham. I don't see him good enough at the Premier League. But if you hit the one button if you think the Manor Solomon is good enough for the Premier League and good enough for Tottenham's consideration. Hit the 0 if you want to take.
Or a squad. I didn't say to start. I said
to be a part of Tottenham's squad consideration. Hit the 1 if you think he is. Hit the 0 if you don't.
What were his final numbers, Ian? Do you remember?
What? Sorry, Solomon?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
He scored the winner to get them the Championship on Sunday, didn't he? Saturday.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
We've got a
0.5 from Eugene. Sitting on the fence. Splinters are us. Alpesh says he's good enough. Adrian's saying he's good enough.
I believe.
Dom's saying he's good enough and I'm wrong. Reese is saying he's good enough. Sean, you can't defend Tell but Slate Solomon, crazy take, fair enough. Grumpy, everyone's saying, well, yeah, hang on, Adrian, you can't fucking come in twice, bro. I've already called you out once. Giant 1. So ones. 0 from Billy Warburton. 1. Yeah, okay, everyone's on board it. And let's have a look. Terry saying 0. Spurs Kings 0. Blaine's 1. Wild 1. Everyone, okay, fair enough. Everyone,
look, the thing is,
massively.
Yeah. Listen, look, the thing is, guys, right? You might be right, Sean, but my point here is he has to be given the chance under a proper manager, because this manager hasn't improved a single player in this squad. The only player that's improved is Lucas Berghvall, and that's been a natural progression of his own talent, his own raw talent. And I just think that to dismiss Manor Solomon as not being worthy of even a go is wrong, and I think he's good enough. It looks like you've been absolutely wiped out.
Yeah, it's fine. Listen, I'd love to join you a lot, but I don't want to be wrong. So No, well done. Okay, Manor Solomon back in the squad. Fair enough. I don't think he'll make it at the Premier League level. We shall.
I don't think he'll come. The truth is, he was treated quite badly here, as we know. But so I would be surprised if he asks to go there. But let's see what happens.
All right, let me move on. Let's move the story forward then. Ian, links out today. James Maddison. We're going to come to Daniel Levy at the end. Don't worry, mate. But James Maddison is not at the end even. We're going to have a segment on him. How much time have you guys got, by the way?
Okay, thanks, James. Mr. 33 and a third.
You guys are right for a while. Okay, so James Maddison going to Manchester City, 55 million quid is the story. It started out in Fajaches, and those people are just horrendous, but it has been picked up by a few more or less, respectable journals this morning. I dropped it on my video earlier. I think it's wildly improbable that Manchester City would go from Kevin De Bruyne to James Maddison, but Ian, I'll start with you on this one, mate. Is there? How do you? Well, even if it's not them, would you be okay selling James Maddison? Although you've already alluded to the fact we have no creativity without him. How do you feel about the idea of him not being here?
I think again another one. We've got a poor manager who's not given Maddison the minutes that he should have done this season. You can see with Maddison's input with goals and assists what he's done. I wouldn't want him to leave next season. No, I think you got to keep him. It's and the other thing also, City will sort of, when they see whether he's got an ACL or an MCL, they're not going to go running in and spending 55 million on someone who's got that injury.
Yeah.
So,
if there was any truth to it, that the truth was before the news broke about his injury. Sure. Do you think he delivers enough, mate? Again, he's another someone. Johnny, I know you feel the same way as I do about this, and I'll come to your take in a second. But just Lubo, just to your take on this one. Like, I've criticised James Maddison a lot this year because I think that it took him 9 months to come out and defend the manager, and on top of that, most of the time he's been interviewed, he's very, I don't know how to say this, in the nicest possible way. I'd call it brutally honest. I saw him the other day when he was coming out before the Bodo game. He was asked about Matisse Tell, he was asked about Lucas Berghvall, and his answers were like brutally honest in terms of like Lucas Berghvall started off being a little kind of a mosquito or whatever he said, like just bothering everybody, kind of like he's just I guess he's just honest, doesn't really understand the perspective of what you're saying and how it can be manipulated. But I would argue that he's focused a lot on his output and as being a positive, and criticised the team, and that kind of to me demonstrates more of a it's me, right? It's a roadrunner kind of mentality, and it pisses me off a little bit that he's a vice captain of the football club and he talks more about me than we, and that annoys me a little bit.
Yeah, I think. Listen, there's some merit there, Sean. What I think about Maddison, I don't think he's been given enough minutes. I don't think that any player, as you said, apart from Berghvall, and Berghvall joined this season. You're comparing him this season to last season when he wasn't playing for Ange. Ange has steadily brought regression to virtually every single player in that squad. And I would like to see Maddison with a proper manager, coach, proper team system, where everybody knows their jobs. We're not wide open. You haven't got inverted fullbacks getting in Maddison's way, so Maddison can only pick up the ball by dropping back and picking it up off the two back players. I think the whole thing is a shambles. I think incredible that we are this close to a Europa League final under this manager. He is the worst I've ever seen at Spurs. I don't think I can actually remember a worse manager in the Premier League for a very long time. Maybe one or two who played a wide open game like him that didn't change, like Russell Martin refused to this season and paid with his job. I can't think of people that are worse than him. This guy just has no idea how to set up a team, in-game management. His team selections leave a lot to be desired. His substitutions are not generally that good. His treatment of the kids is poor. He didn't listen to the doctor when the doctor said, hang on, you're pushing him too hard in training. There are too many injuries. The system has meant hamstring after hamstring injury because of the amount of recovery runs. I think, and even if we win the Europa, he's dragged us down virtually to the into the relegation area. We are fifth from bottom.
Yeah, thank God there's 3 worst teams in the Premier League.
The thing is, we're talking about Madison, right? And Madison here, right? There's a reason why Leicester City fans who know him better than us, for longer than us, dubbed him 33 and a third, right? Because 33 and a third% of his season, he's superb. 33 and a third% he's injured. And the other 33 and a third% he's trying to find his form back from the injury. And I've got to tell you, I'm sick to death of him going down every 2 seconds, remonstrating with the referee, remonstrating with this one, remonstrating with that one. Get up, right? Get up off the floor, okay? You're not a fraction of Bruno Fernandes, right? Concentrate on the game. Spend more money in the game. And quite what you said, Sean, about the other day when Spurs fans had enough and James Maddison said, we don't listen to what's going on there. All right. It's just toxic noise. Remember the other week?
Yeah.
You're telling the fans to ignore the fans who go every week who are upset at your level of football, right? When I went to Fulham, I'm standing there and I'm watching him and Heung Min Son and the other subs pissing about, pushing each other like they're in the school playground, while the Peter Crouch lookalike coach is barking out orders and they're totally ignoring them. And they're pushing them, and I'm videoing it. And the guy says to me, what are you trying to prove, mate? I said, what I'm trying to prove is that this is a shit attitude. This is the attitude of someone who's successful. You can be like this when you're winning games. That's the, confidence. But this is arrogance to be carrying on like this when you haven't won a game for weeks.
It's not just him, though, is it? Like that.
No, I'm not saying that.
Deceit,
the leader.
I hear you. I hear you. Just I'm going to add to your take and come back to you. But like that level of disrespect to the moment, I think is palpable across the board in the senior names. I think that Romero taking that interview in Tottenham's HQ,
correct,
is horrendous. I think Madison's the more I've watched Madison's interviews, the more I'm going to give him a little bit of like leeway, because I felt like, as I said in my first thing, he's all about me and not less about we. And then I watched him in the pre-match presser, and he was asked some very honest questions about players like Matisse Tell and players like and Lucas Berghvall, and his answers to them shed a little bit of light onto maybe the guy that he is, where he just doesn't give either he's a little bit on the spectrum and he doesn't really recognize that there's like an internal conversation that you can have with your teammates, which is like, oh, fuck the noise. Like, what are we doing here? We got to focus on Thursday. But then you come out and you represent the club as a vice captain, and you have to don't be a donut, because the fans are going to hear that. Well, the fans don't get very many minutes of sound bites to chew on, and when you're going to overanalyze what you hear. And I felt like he was a donut, what he said after the Liverpool game. Then I watched him before the Bodo game, and I was like, okay, I understand it a little bit more now. I just think he doesn't really get the his brutal honesty.
Do you think someone had a word with him, Sean? Because that Liverpool
the Liverpool interview was outrageous.
It's outrageous.
I didn't even like. I put a tweet out that referenced the Liverpool video. And I added him in it and said, bro, this is disrespectful. The only thing out of you that's acceptable is a 10 out of 10 against Bodo. And then in the pre-match to the Bodo game, when the journalist was saying, it's a bit of you kind of, it's us against them sort of thing. And it almost felt like either the journalist or Madison, both of them or one of them, I'm not claiming this at all, but I'm just suggesting that maybe they'd seen that tweet, because they were both leaning into that kind of argument that what's the relationship with the fans like? Because it comes across a little bit like you very don't give a fuck, and
don't listen.
And the answer again wasn't great. It really wasn't impressive. It really wasn't right. And so, getting back to the point, in terms of do I care if he leaves? If we can get decent coin for him, I'm more than happy for him to go, as long as we can have confidence that we're going to spend it wisely. And I'm more confident knowing that Paratici.
I'll have an essay, mate, all day long. sell him and get Eze. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Well, but I mean, Tottenham don't have a great track record with spending money, right? We don't. We have a hit rate 2 out of 3, maybe 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10. Forest have a 9 out of 10 hit rate recently. Are both of you okay with the? I mean, Luba, you said we have got no creativity without Madison. Put in Mikey Moore, who I still maintain is unproven. Are you okay with selling? Obviously, this won't happen until after the season's finished. Are you okay with the idea of selling him and then going all over it, going again in the 10 role? Because that's the 10 role is fucking difficult to get right. It's not easy to get right, that 10 spot.
You don't get rid of dirty water till you got clean. You find the player who's going to replace him first, and then you bring him in, and then you get rid of Madison.
Yeah,
I
mean,
you don't do it the other way round. You know, we've been used to selling players.
We do though, Ian. You know that this is how Spurs operate. Listen, look, he's not going anywhere because the only person that Pep wants is this guy.
Kulusevski. What a player. Kulusevski.
That's it. That's it. That's what he wants. He raves
about. Okay, that's an interesting one then. And I'll let the chat play in this one as well. 1s and 0s, right? To both of you, would you rather sell for 55 million quid, right? Meet in the middle. 1 to the chat if you'd rather sell Maddis for 55 bar. 0 if you'd rather sell Decky. And I'll ask both of you guys the same question. Who would you rather sell out of the two of them?
Me, Madison.
Kulusevski.
Okay, Johnny, why Madison?
Because Madison, Decky's young. He's come back from an injury, and before this injury, he was the best player in the squad, without any doubt. He was the best player in the squad altogether. So for me, I'd sell Madison. I know right now.
Did I say one was Madison, 0 was Decky, right? Is that what I said?
Can't remember. Most people say sell Decky, I would have thought.
Well, it's pretty even, but I think I said 1 Madison, 0 Decky, but correct me in the chat. Sorry, Johnny, carry on, mate.
No. So, look, for me, Decky, his age and his body strength and the fact that he's going to play much more games. Decky actually turned around, if you remember, before he went down injured, saying he's running on 70%. He's played so many games. He's not, we knew he was going to go down. He advertised it himself that his body was struggling to play this amount of games, every single minute of every game. It was him and Porro. I think Porro's played 600 minutes more than any other player.
More than that was last month. It's now like 720 because he plays every fucking minute, doesn't he? That geezer, by the way. That guy, you know what? Actually, for shits and giggles, before we come on to the Levy conversation, let's pivot away because just on that panel there, that poll, I think most people here, most people would sell Madison. Interesting. Yeah. Ian, I'll let you have the say on Madison versus the Decky thing. You said Decky. Why is Decky's your guy to sell?
I think it just slows the team down. Gets the ball, he holds. It just holds onto it too long. He doesn't see the big picture the way Madison does. These boys. I remember David Pleat talking to me about the way he went to watch Pep the other year, a Man City training session, and they all work on diagonals. They're never square when they pick up the ball. Everything's on a diagonal, so they can switch either way. And Decky doesn't play that way. Gets the ball, he turns in every single time. If you're a defender, you know exactly what he's going to do. That's not the case with Madison. Madison has those lovely reverse passing that opens up defenses. And he gets the ball. It's like the wall pass with Madison. He gets it, he gives it, and he goes again, like he's playing the ball off a wall and picking up the return pass. Kulusevski, sorry. Plays with his back to goal. I'm not. Listen, he had a very good period early in the season. Got injured, came back. He's been so poor, and he does.
I feel like Ian. Just quickly, what Adrian here has pulled up. it's a tight one, isn't it? In terms of output, it's a tight one, and in terms of input, they're just wildly different players, right? Like
Yes, they are.
I think that Decky has unique value. I think you can go into the transfer market and you can find someone that does what Madison does far easier than you
Adam
can find
Walton
someone that does what Decky does. I feel like Decky, for someone who's so big, tall, strong, for the stamina that he has, yes, I 100% agree with you that he does have this second half of the season disappearing act, right? I totally hear you on that. I think it's a little bit because he thinks the season's a marathon, not a sprint, and I think he outlungs himself in the early stages of the season when he's at his best. But if you can manage that better, I don't think there's an easier. I think it's far easier to find the James Maddison replacement than it is for a Decky, because here's my pitch on Decky, right? He's got brilliant close control when he's at his best. He's got a deft touch. He can dribble. He can keep the ball at close control. He's also 6'2",
great
6'1", whatever it is, right? And it's very difficult to keep the ball that close to your feet whilst looking up if you're that tall. It's easier if you're a Leo Messi because you're 5'6", so the difference between the ground and your eye line is less, right? But I don't think that Decky is as replaceable as Madison is. I think that Madison, there's players like Madison everywhere.
Where? Sean, tell me where. How many 10s are there in the Premier League? Quality 10s.
Okay, I'll give you an example right now. I think that Pedro Gonçalves over in Portugal is a player that would absolutely smash it in the Premier League, smash it out of the fucking park. And I don't know why he hasn't been gobbled up. I know he's injured a lot, or he has been injured in the past, but that geezer is a perfect player that can play off the left, the right, and in the 10. He's versatile, and he would be so fucking good in an Ange ball system or any kind of offensive system. And there's plenty. Danny Olmo's another one, right? There's so many, Ian. There's so many quality 10s.
Passing of Adam Walton
to do what Madison does, but also pivot onto the right or pivot off the left. If they're that good, if they're as good as Madison is, then they're generally in Europe. They can also do it off the left and the right. Madison can't do it off the wings, in my opinion. He's drifted in before, but he's not like a winger /10. But most players that look a little bit like Madison does with their techers, they can also be left and right wing specialists, and there's fucking dozens of them.
I'd have Eze over Madison.
Eze's a good example as well.
Why not have Eze as well as Madison?
Well, look, we got rid of the backup. Whatever you want to say about Lo Celso, had he been in the squad in all the time that Madison's been injured this season, we would have had someone who could have stepped up. I mean, the whole point of having a top squad, whoever it is that you have to have quality backup for every position. We don't have competitive. I don't like the word backup. We don't have quality competition at left centre back anymore. We don't have quality competition for creative midfielder. Personally, I don't think so. They're two positions straight off the bat. We don't have a good enough 6 for a starters, let alone competitive 6. Yeah. We need a monster 6. We need a fantastic creative midfielder. We need a fantastic...
Give me that fucking monster 6, Johnny, and everything changes.
Sean, the other thing that's not mentioned, which has been a problem this year, if you look at the UEFA squad, we only had 23 players. We're short of quality homegrown players. And I get this, I read in WhatsApp groups, let's buy this one, that one, that one, that one. Not one of them is English. We've only got 17 spots for non-homegrown players.
Adam Walton.
So, we don't have enough.
On a free transfer. Garen fucking T. By the way, Johnny, what was it 3 days ago? Me and you did a stream and we were talking about all these free transfers.
A few months ago that he'd be happy to come and sit on the bench.
Yeah, but the other day we did a stream and I did a video about it as well, about all these free transfers. I said, get ready for a summer of transfer links that are linked around these particular players. Whose name has been linked today? Aina at Nottingham Forest. Kenny Tete from Fulham.
All the freebies.
It's almost like we watch our show, mate.
Meanwhile, unfortunately, Jonathan Tah, maybe it might be fortunately, Jonathan Tah has been rejected by Real Madrid and another club. So maybe they'll come down the list and Jonathan Tah will...
I think he's going to Bayern Munich now, allegedly.
Yeah.
But,
he'll go there. for sure.
Carl Walker Peters, Ian, your point about the homegrown predicament. Do we really have a homegrown predicament if Jamie Donnelly's coming back and Mikey Moore's coming back? I don't think we do we?
No.
Maybe not. I hope not. Well, listen, more. I mean, Donnelly's 20, so I mean, you get away with that. I'm talking about players over 21. I think it is.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah.
And do you know what, Sean? We have got enough kids. We need established players, and we need leaders at the moment. We're so short of leaders who can pull a team together. I mean, you look at Brighton away. There were no leaders out there that pulled everybody together after the first goal, even after the second goal, and said, right, hold on, now let's dig in. Now we've got to do this, we've got to do that. There's nobody there. Sonny's not a leader. Sorry, Romero should be a leader, but isn't. Madison isn't really.
I think I lead more from the East Stand, screaming from the East Stand amongst all the people who are sitting there, like still getting over their starters. Where I sit down, they really annoy me, right? I
come back to the south, Johnny. Come back to the south.
I think I must piss them off with some of the crap I come out with. I find it very difficult. It was good to be sat next to Ian yesterday, or stood next to Ian. I let him do most of the shouting for me. I didn't even have the energy to shout at them anymore. It's evaporated. I'm saving ourselves for Bodo.
Let me ask you guys this then. Ian, we are going to come to the Levy thing in a minute because it's the last topic of the day. How much time have you guys got, by the way?
I've got till about 8:30 before I could get. I've just recommended. I said to someone, they said, "What do you got in your case?" I said, "I bought back a load of case full of Filipinos." They said, "You did what?"
I'll be on Thursday, but I'll be bringing back a single Norwegian.
Filipinos, and they said, "How did you fit Filipinos in the case?" I said, "They go, what's a Filipino?" I said, "It's a Tenerife chocolate biscuit, which is fantastic. I can't get enough of them. If you're ever in Tenerife, give me a buzz and bring me back some Filipinos. They come in all flavours and they're fantastic. Just to let you know, I'm going to pop one in now while you go on to the next segment."
Well, the next segment, if you guys have only got 15 minutes left, then I guess this one
Filipino
this one
in your mouth.
I was going to ask you boys about talking about the young players, whether or not we've got enough centre backs, and what do we do with them. But considering we only got 15 minutes, I think this one's going to take up 15 minutes. Ian, I'm going to start with you on this one, mate. I think I know where you're going to go with it. But the question is, in a world where Daniel Levy, or in a world where Tottenham fail, I love the fact you've got a cardboard cut up. That's so good.
I did that. I cut that out when the first time I went on Brian Daigle's show. Either side of the initial music, bringing in the program. He saw me off screen before, and by the time the program started, I had my Levy mask on. And he's just like, what? And he fell apart. But anyway.
Superb. Just quickly, John Fernandez, DM Johnny Boy, and you might be able to set up some sort of import-export.
Listen,
Filipinos. You might get done with people trafficking.
Can bring him in as well if you want.
Superb. Listen, I'm going to start with this one, Ian Lubo. Look, the question is, can Daniel Levy survive reputationally? I think the answer is going to be obvious no in the online space, but in terms of the fan base at large, should we fail on Thursday night? Should there be a disaster of all disasters? What will be the reaction? And how will I say this? Let me summarize this in a better sentence. We all know it's black and white for Ange Postecoglou, right? If he wins, he's the most successful manager, not the best manager, but the most successful manager in Tottenham's 45-year reign. If he loses, he's clearly the biggest failure. If we lose against Bodo, or even if we beat Bodo and lose against United or whoever in the final, can Daniel Levy survive and recover in any way, shape, or form, or is it game over for Levy's reputation in the fan base?
I don't think Levy cares, to be honest. I don't think he gives a damn. I don't think he's given a damn about the fans from day one. To be honest, Sean, I mean, I'll ask you. I'll throw the question back at you. You've got a history of finance, being in the financial game. How many CEOs with his record would have survived 24 years?
Well,
seriously,
financially, he's done brilliantly. So
has he?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, he's lost us 200 million conservatively on not bringing in naming rights for 10 years. I think 20 million is conservative. There's 600 million overspend on the grounds. There's God knows how many hundreds of thousands of pounds he's wasted on poor players because he's after opportunities instead of going.
The revenue of the football club is 25 times what it was when he took over. So,
well, I've got to tell you,
in our worst season ever in terms of revenue generating opportunities, last season he only dropped the 4%. Like, if you were to replicate our revenue as a share price, which isn't in any way a reasonable replication or a reasonable reflection, but just if you were just to use that simplistically, you'd see this. Then a couple of things, a couple of dips, but in terms of financially versus football outcomes are two different things, right? So if you're asking me like how long would he survive as a CEO, I'd say he'd be championed as one of the top 100 CEOs in the world.
I don't think he's been good financially. I think he's cost the club.
I mean, you're wild.
This is a football club. He's got a ground that is in debt up to there. We owed 872 million. The club.
That's not a bad thing, mate.
It's not a great thing.
Yes, it is. As long as it's manageable, it's absolutely perfect.
But look at the interest he's paying.
Yeah, £25 million a year, mate.
Would you rather be debt free? I mean, they put 400 million of the club's money into the ground and took out.
You asked me the question regarding how would he be reflected as a CEO if it was a financial company listed on the stock exchange. I'm telling you that if he was the CEO of an actual business that was stock market limited, whether it was Tottenham Hotspur or anything else, he would be on the FTSE 100 and he would be earning twice as much money, bare minimum, than what he currently earns. Right, because the average takeaway of a FTSE 100 company is twice as much as what he currently takes, even though he takes more than any other chairman in any other footballing club in the Premier League. But if you're asking me to compare apples to oranges, i.e. just business for business across all markets, he would be universally celebrated as a fucking almost like a fucking savant, mate. Like, it's not even in any way debatable on that basis.
It is debatable because the money that's flown in from Sky, he hasn't created that money. He's not done something brilliant, created a fantastic company and sold it off for God knows how much. He has been in. Hang on, he has been.
I've got to clarify. I have to call you out immediately, mate, on that stuff because
he's been in the right place at the right time.
No,
TV money.
No, he hasn't, mate. Because every other football club, media money is the number one. For the vast majority of football clubs, not everyone, but for the vast majority of football clubs, media money is the number one source of income. For Tottenham, it's the number 2/number 3. Not commercial is number one, of which he is entirely responsible for. So, you just, I understand you're passionate, you hate him, I get it. When it comes to the statistics and the facts about your argument, it's just wildly inaccurate, bro.
You could have been chairman, Sean. You could have been chairman, and the money would be pouring in.
If I was chairman, mate, we'd be bankrupt relative to him.
No.
Guarantee you.
No, I'm sorry. You would. No, you could make it work.
All on Eskimos. He 100% would.
I'd be taking withdrawals from the company accounts and going brassing all day. It doesn't work that way.
I trust that you would take advantage of the extra money that's coming in all the time. Every single deal, there's more money coming in from TV.
Who's responsible for those deals? That's what I'm saying. Who's responsible for those things? It's Daniel Levy. Mate, everybody universally celebrates Daniel Levy as an incredible businessman. And the debate is his whether it transfers onto the football pitch. And that's a debate that I'm happy to sit there and we can chew over. But in terms of Would me, you, anyone else, with the local barber, the Turkish barber down the road who's brilliant at somehow finding £1 million in revenue, even though his shop's empty every day because of his money laundering? Well, like the argument that like an average businessman could do what he's done is just nonsense, mate. It's nonsense. He is a phenomenal businessman.
If there was a reason why you have just pulled off record profits, you would look at that reason and think, do you know what? This is a winning formula. Wouldn't you? I think every businessman would say they've been in business. They took over in 2000. They've just got their figures year end June 2019. Jesus, we have made, this is our best ever year for net profit. I wonder why. Our football team reached the Champions League final. Jesus, so football success and financial success correlates.
Okay, let's look at last season. Last season we had our fewest games ever, and we're comparing our revenue to the season before. We were in the Champions League, the same Champions League that you're talking about, and we got to the quarterfinals. It was the last 16, whatever it was, and yet we only dropped our revenue by 4%.
No, operating profit was up by 4%.
No, our overall EBITDA was down 4% last year, when we had our fewest games in the history of the Premier League relative to the year before when we played in the Champions League.
Yeah.
That is undeniable. Only. That's an undeniable example. And how did that, by the way, how did that all kind of square off? Johnny, I'll let you come in here. But like that squared off because of the commercial revenue doing this last year, right? That's Daniel Levy. That's not match day. That's not TV money. That's not prize money.
We had 20 games. We had 20 games at home. We had our 19 home games, right, and one home game against Manchester City, which we lost. And that was it. Yeah, and 41. We lost to Fulham. We're 41 games. But look. The thing is, for me, I don't think you can question Levy's genius off pitch. But what is obvious is if I'd have been spending 25 years trying to learn football and I'm still really at the same level that I can't identify top talent, I'm still struggling to make success on the pitch, I have to ask myself the question, it's time for me to bring someone else in who knows it better, right? Now, I'm hoping now with Vinay, I was never confident with Scott Munn. I don't want a guy who's been cycling in the Olympics and been working with the City Group in Asia. I want a guy who understands football at the highest level. And Vinay
and has the commercial acumen as well.
Correct. Yeah. And he was in demand with private equity and the Saudis. And then you've got someone like Cherrington, who's the head of Citibank, right, coming in. These two guys, in my opinion, dress up the board and give us massive credibility. And I think that's the reason why, Daniel has brought them in. It's obviously Daniel who's brought them in. And, if Fabio comes in, I think those three people coupled with potentially winning the Europa League could be a massive game changer for us, because I think then all the stars are aligned. Sometimes you have to get into the shit before you can climb out of it. And I'm hoping, this massive sliding door moments for the club. For me, this is one of the biggest sliding door moments for the club in the last 20 years. I know we hear it every year.
It's bigger than the Champions League final, by the way.
This is bigger than anything, because if we do not win this, we are slipping further and further behind everybody, right? It's as simple as that. If we manage to pull this out of the bag somehow, not because of Ange, but despite him, then we really are in a fantastic position, because then we got the possibility of hanging on to our best players, attracting new players, attracting sponsorship. There's all the sponsorship bonuses for making the Champions League. Okay, then you've got your 30 off.
Johnny, let me ask you this. And I'm going to come to Lubo.
I still think there's inward investment coming, because we got capital-intensive projects, like I said before, the hotel, White Webs, the medical extension at the training ground. They're all massive capital intensive projects that need cash injection. And
let me ask this, right? Let me put this, guys, to you guys. And again, ones and zeros, guys, in the chat, right? So before you put your ones and zeros in, because I'm not sure if I'm going to phrase this correctly first time. To Johnny and to Ian, I don't care who goes first, but so let's just try to work with me here on this idea. Is the betterment of Tottenham Hotspur, when you consider, I hope you guys will agree with me that there's risk to anything new in life. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't know what you're going to get. So sometimes you're going to get better. Sometimes you're going to get worse. And you might get better if you go west towards private equity. I think you'll get worse, but you might get better. And you might get better if you go east to the Saudis or Qatar or whatever. Or you might get worse, right? We don't know. But like there's like outcomes there. The unknowns are the unknowns, but whatever. Would you rather a scenario where Daniel, in a perfect world, Daniel Levy maintained his place at the club, but if it was legitimately contractually written in fucking Sanskrit that he has absolutely nothing to do with the footballing decisions other than writing a fucking check, essentially, and saying, here's your budget. What you do with the footballing squad is over to you, whether that's Paratici or Vinny or whoever else, and saying, you've got £120 million to spend, budgetary, you've got 6% additional on the revenue to move that wage number. And if you want to sell players, have at it. I'll leave it up to you how that looks, etc. And then Paratici and a business-minded accountant like Vinny can work with Paratici and they can figure that shit out. But Daniel Levy just steps back entirely, but focuses on the commercial. Would you rather that, which is a sort of a known unknown, versus a complete fucking get out, Daniel Levy, get out of the club, and then someone else come in, whoever that is, and then with that roll the dice and not know whether it's going to be better or worse, where you might get Sir Jim Ratcliffe or you might get the guys, the guys from Abu Dhabi, Manchester City, right? So one, if in the chat, if you fancy still having Daniel Levy's acumen, but a complete separation of powers. 0 if you want him gone, and you roll the dice with the unknown and go, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just think that Daniel Levy's taken us as far as he can, and fuck, I'll just try something new, and it could be better or it could be worse. 1 for Levy, but 0 for Levy gone. For me, that's my comments, and I'll let you guys answer the question.
Yeah, for me, I'd be quite happy if we get inward investment, right, that's staggered over the 3 years, where Daniel goes on to do what he does best. And that is commercial, financial acumen, like, whether it's getting the hotel built, getting the white webs sorted, getting the training ground and the property and the surrounding area projects around the club. Let him do what he specialises in, but let people look, Vinny, I know, I hear people say, oh, Vinny had nothing to do with Arteta and Edu. I don't believe that. You're not around the club for 20 years and have nothing to do with anything. And, he was very much up on the commercial side as well. He was credited with the ladies' game. And one of the things that he was credited most was his fantastic liaising with the fans. That's something we've not had at this club. And if Vinny comes in and he can show us that he's willing to engage with the fans, and the rumour are that that's already started somewhat with the offer that was put in place for the Bodo game. If you arrived there before 6 o'clock and you bought a meal, you got a free pint.
What? Where was that?
Huh?
Where was that?
I told you that yesterday.
Yeah, well, you told me that. Yeah, someone's. Yeah, but
wait. I could get a meal somewhere for free.
No, you can get a drink.
Free pint.
If you bought a meal between 6 and 6:30 on Thursday
at the stadium.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking know that. No one told me.
It wasn't well advertised.
You were pissed before you got into the stadium, so it was irrelevant to you. But my point here is that, I believe that people that we've brought in here. Look, I see your point. You know, I remember speaking to a lot of the Man United fans. We've got to get the Glazers out. We've got to get the Glazers out. And now I listen to those same people, and they say everyone hates Ratcliffe. Even the guy in the car park hates Ratcliffe. And, you know, why is that? Because he's come in and he hasn't realised what a shit show he's bought into. I don't believe Spurs is that bad. I mean, you know, the Glazers hadn't spent a fortune on Carrington training ground or on the stadium. If you've ever been there, it's pissing water from the roof. At least whoever comes into this club knows that they've got a fantastic training ground, a fantastic, incredible infrastructure. What it needs is football leadership. And I think that these guys that are coming in give me more hope than Scott Munn Scott Munn, Lange and Ange. I'd rather lead that revolution with Cherrington, Vinay, Paratici, and the manager that he brings in, whether it's a Xavi, whether it's an Iriola, or whether it's
it won't be Iriola now, is it?
No, or the what's name boss, the Bologna boss. You know, that's a player, a manager who I wouldn't be upset if we brought in. Look, I just think that.
So you're okay with the idea, Johnny, of Levy hanging around in an obviously I know that ideal worlds are not ideal.
But not if he's going to interfere.
I know. I hear you. I get that.
No. Listen, right? If you're going to bring it, look. If I'm developing my company and I'm going to hire the best people, there's no point me standing over these people and telling them how to do their job, right?
I just wonder whether or not the Vinny and the Paratici rehiring, and I think Paratici is more telling than Vinny. I just can't imagine it, Ian. I can't imagine that the Paratici is going to come back, and unless he's got some more control. And I think that the news stories might be true about this one. We don't know, but I think that the news stories might be true that there's conditions on that signing. And if so, that's got to be a good thing that he's got final say. And with Vinny maybe being the overseer, like, I'm not saying you're a representation of the Levy out movement, Ian, but you are a hardcore one. Would you be okay with that as a short-term compromise to be on board, to get on board them, like the club again? If you saw less of Daniel Levy, if you heard less about Levy getting his oar in, and it was literally Tottenham go on about their business, trying to go from 500 million to 800 million, and Daniel Levy's doing whatever he does, pulling whatever strings. I know you clearly in your last answer don't think that he's as good at business as I do, but would you be okay as a short-term compromise if you had Vinny and Paratici pulling the strings and Daniel Levy just finding the revenue?
I'll tell you what, I'll answer that, Sean. I mean, Craig O'Sullivan's put it very eloquently. Part of the reason we want Levy out is because of the years of failure and the fact he can't leave the football decisions to the experts and always gets involved. I think the scenario you've presented, Sean, is
unrealistic.
It's probably a nice way of putting it.
Yeah,
I think it's unrealistic. This is the way he is. I think the thing, the one big thing for me about Levy, the biggest thing out of everything, is that I've got my own business. It's a small business. It's a tiny business. But I will do whatever I can to improve that business. I will try and learn the product. I will try and embrace the product. I will try and give it my best. If I'm not successful, I'm not successful, but it won't be for lack of trying and giving it 100%. I think what I don't understand, Levy went to work for his father. Now, I know about Barry Levy because my father was in menswear retail as well. Barry Levy embraced the product, got to learn, knew the product, built a great brand. And he and his son hasn't followed his father and learnt from his father, learn the product. He has no interest in the product at all. He has no interest in our history and our traditions. You know, you look at how many statues have Arsenal got? We haven't even got one of Bill Nicholson.
Yeah, what's that about, actually? Like, that is such a small win. Is he on the spectrum? a weird thing to put up a block on, isn't it?
Years of going on about this, and he's right. When you take your grandkids or your kids down to the stadium, I was talking. Who was I talking to yesterday? I can't remember. I was talking to yesterday, the last week, who took their kids down to the game, the Bodo game, and there's nothing to show the kids. Like, Dad, what was that? Right?
Yeah.
That's
you on that. I think it's a massive. It's such a small thing. I said this before to you, Johnny. Right? I learned the biggest dickhead of a manager I ever had and I've had loads in my life, but the biggest donut ever, who was an absolute fucking idiot, but he was brilliant about one thing. He taught me one thing in the stock market game, was be big in small things, right? Like, if it doesn't mean that much to you and it's short-term pain for you, but it creates some sort of relationship, you do someone a favor that's a big partner, a big client. Be big in small things, right? Just give him what he wants. I mean, all right, you're gonna lose a little bit of money on the short term, but you'll get it back. Right?
You know what?
I think
the statue thing is such a weirdly, wildly shitty thing to say.
What about the museum? Look, you look at the museum, right? We've got all these attractions, Ian, right? We've got all these attractions. We've got the walk, we got this, we've got the F1, we've got all these experiences. Why not a bloody historical museum where you sit down in the cinema and you see, oh, look, I watched the 1960 against Atletico Madrid, or I saw clips of it, and I saw
a little cinema room on the tour would be cool.
Exactly.
Sean, have you done the stadium tours of places like Barca? I've done Real Madrid. I've done.
I've done the Barca. I've done the Barca stadium tour years ago.
Real Madrid. All of these.
Yeah.
I remember going into the Spurs shop. They had an open day on the December 18, 3.5 months before the ground opened. And I remember talking to people in the Spurs shop, and they said that the museum would be built, I think, on the first floor above, and never seen it. That's what they.
I've not seen the gates.
And the whole thing, Sean. The whole thing is about. This is. I remember saying to you previously. This is a football club. Now, yes, of course, money is important. No one's saying otherwise. You end up bankrupt like Leeds nearly did 25 years ago. But this is, by and large, this is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. There are loads and loads of businesses in all other spheres, all other industries, all other areas that you can get involved in, and you can run a business. And it doesn't involve football. It doesn't involve fans coming in who are invested, who are passionate, who love the history, the tradition of the club. It's tribal. There's a brand loyalty there that you don't get. You go into a restaurant.
I agree with you.
You go into a restaurant, you don't like the food, Sean, you don't go back.
I've been saying it for a little while. Like, if Daniel Levy wants to justify the non-naming rights deal, and by the way, I know you mentioned it earlier that there's 200 million or whatever you said.
It's not true.
In lost revenue. Yeah, I think that there's an unquantifiable amount of money that's come in the back door and will continue to come in via people that have found Tottenham through, NFL e-games, whatever.
Can I just add to this, Sean? I didn't to interrupt there, but I saw an article which said that the club had admitted that not intentionally, but by not having the naming rights,
it's proved me more
valuable.
valuable.
The name has gone out round the world as the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it's been a massive enhancement of the brand.
Do you know what pisses me off though about that, Johnny?
But it wasn't intentional.
As someone that works with like branding these days, like I obviously used to be finance. These days, I'm more in ad tech, right? But like, I'm very much aware now of the value of brand enhancement. What pisses me off is that all of this brand awareness that comes from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, primarily for what it's worth from the West, from America, boxing, Beyonce, all these different things, the Formula One, all these things, like, where you see, and the NFL, obviously, where you see Tottenham Hotspur everywhere, and on the FIFA, on the Electronic Arts games, all that stuff. The one thing that pisses me off about all of that is that if you are someone who's brand savvy, you know that you have to double down on that shit, and that when you have to make hay while the sun is shining. And to be honest, I get pissed off that we haven't done any tours in West. Right, we spend all of our time trying to harness and harvest as much money as we can out of the Sonny relationship because he's a cash cow, and I get it. Don't get me wrong, I do get that. But to neglect what is a massively emerging market just when Tottenham Hotspur's name is bandished around as frequently as it is, primarily to the American market in a variety of different sports and in a variety of different environments, to not go over there and then like harness that and turn it and cultivate that into something that's actually manifests into reality by doing pre-season tours, which, by the way, Chelsea do, Newcastle do, Villa do, United do, all these teams do. And we do.
You know what?
We're missing a little bit of a fucking trick here. Yes, Sonny's been a brilliant cash cow, but let's not miss the fucking like wood for the trees.
World. It's a big world.
It's a big fucking world. And just quickly on that, just real quick, and I'll hand back to your point, Ian, and about the statues generally. Like you mentioned about the naming rights, the non-naming rights. Just whilst I disagree with you about the kind of there's £200 million that's quantifiably missing from the lack of naming rights, and I don't disagree with you that yes, you could have found that ticket. And to Johnny's point, like we don't know what the value is of the other alternative. What I would say is that part of that harnessing that I talked about just then a minute ago is found in things like statues, right? It's found in things like when someone comes to Beyonce, when someone comes over for the NFL and they are somewhat aware of Tottenham Hotspur because they play their fucking FIFA or Madden games or whatever, then they come and then they go, who's that geezer? And there's a fucking fuck off 18-foot tall bronze statue of Harry Kane or Danny Blanchflower or whoever. So some of that will be irrelevant, right? A lot of that will be irrelevant. But some of them are going to go home and go, Dad, who was that? What was that statue? What was that name? Oh, that was Bill Nicholson. Google Bill Nicholson. And then you see, and then from there, you're put into the Tottenham Hotspur algorithm, right? Then you're going to be shown a bunch of fucking YouTube videos a week later, 2 weeks later. And you just don't know what that shit's worth to a legacy fan. And just like a dentist that moans that it cost me £2,000 to get a new patient lead, and that patient only comes in to get an £800 or a £200 like hygienist appointment. Yeah. No, you're not. You're missing the fucking book here. You've got that geezer. As long as you look after him for the rest of your life or the rest of his, as long as he stays where you are, and then you get his wife and you get his kids as well. So like there is a massive missing of the book, missing of the trick at Tottenham with regards to what legacy value is with brand recognition. And Tottenham it's such a small thing to put a statue up. It probably costs 20 grand.
But that's the thing, Sean.
I don't know what that value can do.
The other thing is, Sean, is that, you know, the amount of people I get messages from America, North America, and I always ask them, how did you come to support Spurs, right? I didn't know really. I'm quite new to football. I played on Madden. I saw a concert. I saw the boxing, right? And a lot of what's gone on here, and has been through these things, through these events, and the ability to play in the Tottenham Hotspur Arena in the Madden game and stuff like that has brought them in. But we're not really exploiting it in that sense by traveling over to America. But what has happened is we're getting sponsors by not having the naming rights, that it's the Tampax Arena or the Amazon Dome, right? Or whatever it may be, because there is no brand identity. If you're watching from America and it's the Amazon Dome or the Amazon Arena, it's not telling you anything.
Yeah, but there's a reason why Amazon would want to pay £25 million a year for that, right?
Correct.
They're getting the benefit that we currently get from Tottenham Hotspur.
Correct. But what it has done is that this is what I'm agreeing with you here. Having done that and having garnered so much North American, a large North American fan base. I mean, we're spread all over America, but especially North America for some reason. We're not exploiting it because we're not traveling there. Again, this season, we're going to Hong Kong, we're going to Asia. We should be out in America exploiting that. And
I really do think it's time that we need to not neglect the Western market anymore. Sorry, Ian, I know you want to come in there, mate. Sorry, boss.
But just to say that, you know,
need to go in a minute. Sorry,
I'm a football fan. Go to Anfield. you know it's a football club there. You walk around the outside of the ground, you know it's a football club.
Correct.
Mark Cousins, Sheriff, came up, the other week, Johnny, when we met with Brian. Yeah. Mark walked around the ground. He said don't even know it's a football ground. It could be any arena, and there is no love. You see, when we talk about the owners, there is no love. There is no feel for the history, for the tradition of the football club, and he is the chairman of a football club. Yeah. He's not the chairman of Santander. He's not the chairman of HSBC. He's not the chairman of Redrow Builders or whoever builders there are. He is chairman of a football club. And we are so far down the list of priorities as far as he is concerned in terms of running that club.
Think he throws the bone. You think he throws the bone?
Johnny, he charges us the highest prices. You know, if you go to a restaurant, you go to a Michelin star restaurant, you know you're going to pay high prices, but you should be getting
terrible analogy. That's as bad as
Sean, you know what I'm saying?
Hang on, hold on. Because I hear this all the time. I see you on channels where this shit gets banded around. I hear the same analogy of you're paying for a first class ticket and you're getting economy space, right? That's not the right analogy. The analogy is you're paying for a first class ticket and you're flying first class, but you rock up in Mallorca and it pisses down for the 2-week holiday, right? The stadium is the vehicle in which you enjoy the game. It's the experience.
Hang on.
It's just a different thing.
No. Wait a minute. The stadium is just where you sit to watch what goes on the pitch.
Yeah, but it's the nicest.
If you want to admire the stadium,
football,
Sean, it's a lovely stadium. My pal took me on the stadium tour. It's the second time I did the stadium tour. Ozzy was the host a few weeks ago. It's a fabulous stadium. It's tremendously impressive.
The stadium is the flight. The football is the holiday. It's a different thing.
No. The football is, Sean, the football is the main thing.
Yeah, the holiday. No, the football. When you say that Tottenham put on a shit show, it's like flying to Dubai and then being pissed on or being in 50-degree heat. That's the problem.
No.
Is the stadium.
Wrong, because the hotel owners have no control over the weather, but Levy has control over the wage cap.
Levy doesn't control the outcomes of football, mate. That's ridiculous. Come on, mate. It's ridiculous. That's such a ridiculous thing to say.
Sean, if you want to be successful, you buy the best. You go out, you get the best.
Doesn't guarantee success, though, does it?
No, nothing. Listen, there's no guarantee of success. And
people that say I pay £100 a ticket, therefore I expect to win the league. It's such an anodyne fucking argument. I can't even get on board it.
Sean, if you are raising ticket prices at another 6% on top of everything else, but you are then saying, I'm getting rid of 10 established players, I'm bringing in 1 established player and 4 kids. So we've got less players, we've got more matches, we're going to get more injuries. Yeah, look at what's happened this season.
We can have that debate all day long about how you spend the money and the priorities, but all those things are moving targets. All those things are moving targets, mate. With the notion that the ticket prices dictate the success on the pitch is just absolute bollocks.
I'm sorry, Sean.
Anyone who thinks otherwise needs to go to fucking any kind of level, secondary education.
Football is an entertainment. It's an entertainment. If you're going to charge the biggest prices.
It's not even the biggest prices, though, mate. Like Fulham, even the argument.
One stand at Fulham. That's it.
It's wrong on every. The argument is wrong on every level. Factually, it's wrong, and also just in theory, it's wrong. The idea that because you charge the most money, Tottenham's chairman is the only chairman in the Premier League who diversifies the responsibility of revenue generation away from Tottenham Hotspur fans. There's no other chairman in the Premier League who gets 35% of their income from things that have nothing to do with football. That's not celebrated by you guys. That's conveniently pushed under the fucking carpet because you have agendas to push. It's bollocks. It's the price of the tickets is predicated by the location, is predicated by the stadium, the debt, and the things that are well away from the footballing pitch. What you get to see is different to how you see it. And that is the difference between this notion of how you travel and where you go on holiday. I'm sorry, mate. The argument is
we look at things differently. For me, you should get what you pay for.
So what is it? So that's just a race to the bottom then. So Manchester City should charge 500 quid a ticket.
It all depends. Also, all depends where. Listen, City are smacking their prices up.
City can't sell out their stadium now, mate. Why? Because there's other variables that dictate and influence the pricing mechanisms, mate. Like people that push that. Ian, I love you to pieces, and I get your passion. You've got so much legitimacy to so many areas of your point, but on that bit, it's just fucking waffle, mate. It's bollocks.
It's not waffle, mate.
It is massive waffle, mate. It's massive waffle. You can't say if I charge you £100. Then I demand a championship. If I charge you £50, I'll tolerate what I get. There's so much more to it. The oversimplification of complex business economics in football by fans that don't understand it is rife, and it's
what you're saying is, if you charged £80, you wouldn't and instead of £100, you wouldn't be any less demanding of winning a title or winning a trophy. Is all he's saying on that.
Fine, but Johnny? But what I'm saying is, that if you're going to smash prices up, so you are paying on average the highest prices in Europe, and
they're not even the highest prices.
They are.
There's some weird metric where we
only have 19 games.
You've dismissed Arsenal. You've dismissed Real Madrid. That's just one stadium, and that includes 3 more League Cup games.
I'm not talking about Real
Madrid have got
guys, we're descending. All I know is we're descending here, and what I was just about to say was that when I went to this season alone, when I went to Coventry, I rocked up outside. I saw a statue of Jimmy Hill. When I rocked up outside Ipswich, I saw a statue of Bobby Robson. When I rocked out at Man United, there's all the greats, right? When I went to Arsenal for the TNT thing, I'm stood there waiting for Peter Crouch to come along for the interview. I'm looking out, and it's embarrassing. They've got all their statues, Thierry Henry, Arsene Wenger, all manner of important milestones, and that's the point I'm saying, right? I agree with you both. I tell you what, if he gave us a museum and a couple of statues, right,
you'd lay off. Yeah,
everyone. Yeah, because
Johnny, if he tried to be, if he tried to be successful.
Well, I don't think he does.
That's all I want.
But I don't think he goes out. Listen, no one goes out their way to not be successful.
He is the only one that doesn't stretch.
He's had a poor judgment of people, but no one goes out their way not to be successful. When I've gone out to be successful in what I've done, I haven't always been successful, but my aim was always to do my best and be successful. And I don't think you've invested 25 years into anything to purposely miss it. But my point is, having missed it consistently, he should have stepped aside and employed the people to allow him to be successful by
I would also just throw in the reminder there that people look too internally just at Tottenham Hotspur and say it's binary. A season with a trophy is success. Like, for example, Lubo, and I'll finish on this because I know you guys
are in a minute.
Yeah, gonna go. Last question. If Daniel Levy if Tottenham lift the Europa League this season, is that a successful season?
It will be, in footballing terms, it will be, of course, it will be a successful season.
Will you lay off Daniel Levy for another 12 months?
No.
Fair enough. On that one, guys, we'll leave it there. Listen, Johnny, Ian, what's coming up in your social lives over the next before Thursday?
I haven't got a social life, Sean. I'm always on here with you.
I know, that's what I mean. What we're doing tomorrow, we got Devil's Advocate. It's back, by the way, baby.
Yeah.
Devil's Advocate is back. Johnny and Dave are back at 1 p.m. tomorrow on this channel to talk all things Tottenham as we used to do. We haven't done it for fucking ages, and I can't wait to see him alongside Johnny. It always brings a smile to my face to know that we're streaming together. Lubo and Johnny, is there anything else that we need to know about your appearances on various channels over the next couple of days?
I've got King's TV tomorrow night after the what should be a very exciting Champions League game between Barcelona and Inter Milan tomorrow night. And then I'm off with you, Sean, to Bodo.
Yeah, I can't wait, mate. It's gonna be I can't.
I'm excited now.
Oh,
and even Henry, who was bitching and moaning about having that you pushed him into it, even now he's excited.
Rubber arm right. Yeah. Not only have I convinced him to buy a Bodo ticket, I've convinced him to buy final tickets for Bilbao, and now we're contemplating the Super Cup in August. Should we get there? Ian, mate, absolute phenomenal performance. Both of you, phenomenal performances as always. Johnny goes to the territory. Ian, great to have you on, my man, and great that everyone can see that we can have these little, tiffs on other channels and stuff, and it's all water under the bridge. Ian, what's coming up in your world, mate, over the next couple of days?
In about 5 minutes, Tottenham away. So that'll be the next. That'll be the next one.
I don't know why, Ian, you just don't do a streamathon. You can start at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I've got to tell you something, Johnny. Football's always been my passion, and I love talking about Tottenham.
Don't tell your wife.
So she's happy. She's got the remote. She's got the remote. I don't drive her mad.
Yeah. It's like I think that Bugsy Malone loves me, but really the pecking order is like the balls, walkies, dinner, whatever I'm having. She wants a slice of somewhere down here. I'm like 7th or 8th on the list, but I don't mind. She's the only girl in my life until Thursday when I meet my Helga, and I can't wait. Boys, want to say massive thank you. I really enjoyed the stream. Thanks very much for coming on, guys. Thank you very much for the super chats.
Have a safe trip Thursday, both of you, and I hope it's everything you want.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You're not coming. You're not getting out there. No points. Not enough points. Yeah, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to actually see what 400 people. I'm going to go around and ask the people that are there. Did you pay up or did you have the points? And I want to meet like the 400 most pointed Tottenham fans, because that will be quite an interesting.
Sean, I think you must be sitting with Bodo.
No, we're not
sitting in the neutral zone, aren't we, Johnny?
We're in the UEFA section.
Neutral part, rather.
Yeah, we're in the UEFA section. Yeah. We'll be in
the pubs. I'd like to get some content with some of the people that have got 600-700. The fact that we are Tottenham TV didn't have enough points. The fact that Johnny, you didn't have enough points. The fact that you, Ian, didn't have enough points, and you guys go everywhere. I can't wait to meet people that paid £30 for that ticket and that have got it through their loyalty. I want to get some of their
£21. Sure, £21.
£21. Wow. £21. There you go. Yeah. I literally can't wait to interview some of the people that they must travel everywhere every week of the last 20 years.
Billy Scott, Graham Scott.
No, Graham missed out by 9 points.
Graham, did he?
Yeah, 9 points.
Fucking hell. So if Graham missed out, whoever the fuck is the level above Graham, these guys must commit every penny they have and every moment they have spare towards Tottenham. And I want to know what their wives are like. I want to know everything about them.
You needed 512 loyalty points.
Which is what, over 20 years, is it?
No, it's over 4 years. All the loyalty points are based on the previous 4 years.
Is that it? Oh, really?
That is it.
In the cycle, the thing is, Sean, unless you're in getting those away points,
I hear
never get there.
I hear you. But that's going to change, hopefully, with the fact that they're changing the all ticketing away system next year, so that people that buy the tickets can't just sell them on, and that if you genuinely buy them but you can't go, then you have to get them back, and so you will see a distribution down the points. That's good. It's good news. But yeah, like I say, can't wait to meet everybody on Thursday. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, Tom, for your loyalty. Thank you, Tot Spurs. Thank you, Roy. And thank you, everyone. It's been a big day of content, and you'll get more from me tomorrow, straight up. Wherever the transfer news, views, and clues are, you'll get it first here. Also doing Devil's Advocate at 1 o'clock. Make sure you're back here. And then get yourself over to Tottenham away to go and see Lubo. and get yourself over towards wherever Johnny's going to be tomorrow. What did you say? Spurs Kings TV, yeah?
That's tomorrow night, yeah.
Tomorrow night. All right. Love you all. See you there. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Come on, you Spurs.